Well, hello there. I'm going to show you how to do my winding fun cowl, and this is what it's looking like so far. It's a really pretty pattern, and you can do it if you want with narrower pegs and then have a tighter type of stitch, or you could do it looser and have a more lacy stitch, and you can use any loom that you want, any gauge, as long as the yarn works with it for the look you want. Okay, and you can use even or odd, it makes no difference. Now the loom I'm using, it's a specially made loom that I got from Cindy Wood Looms. It's a 1-inch custom loom with 32 pegs. And I use that sometimes when I want a chunky cowl. But it looks good if it wasn't chunky, if it was done with fine yarn on a different gauge. Okay, now the yarn I'm using is just one that I spun myself, and I used 4 different colors of purples and greens to get this look. Okay, what else? Well, the wool is pretty much all different merino wools, and the fiber, and some of them had some silk in it, some of them had some nylon in it. And the loom hook I'm using is a loom hook that I got back when we have a handle on this made loom hooks. They don't anymore, but there's someone on Etsy, Artisanal Turnings, and he makes similar ones to this if you're looking for one. And he's also in my Facebook group. Okay, so to get started, we're going to do this cast on here. And I'm going to take you to the video of doing this cast on and how to do the rows to get started. And then I'll show you how to do the stitch. So I'll take you there, and I will see you in a bit. So I'm going to show you how to start this piece. And I'm going to show you the cast on and the first few rows before we start into the pattern. The yarn I'm using for this is Atlantis, Estelle Atlantis, and the color is Gleam. And it's a combination of yellows and creams and light taupe and copper and bronze and lots of those colors in it. And it's a bulky. And it's, I guess it's pretty close to Charisma width to give you an idea of how big a bulky it is. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is a chain cast on. So what I do is I just make a slip knot. And any way you make a slip knot's fine. It just goes on the first peg like that. And we take the loom hook, put it inside the loop, and pick up a yarn. And so that we have a loop of yarn here. I'm just going to keep this tight over here. And then I'm going to come over behind the next peg, put the working yarn through, and snug it up. Behind, working yarn through, snug it up. Behind, whoop, behind, and we caught 2 pegs, snug it up. Behind, snug it up. And we just do that all the way around the loom. And that's a chain cast on. It's one of the crochet cast-ons. Works really good. You can use a crochet hook to do this if you want. I find it a lot easier just to do with my hands, but if you're in a very tiny gauge loom, you might really need a hook to get your fingers in between the pegs. This cast on can be used on any size of loom with the appropriate yarn for that gauge. I use this cast on with most of my pieces because I like the look of it. I do use other ones from time to time just because I think they go nicer with the work, but this one is nice. You don't have to worry about tightening any loops. It has a really nice appearance. And I just kind of do this weird thing when I do it because that helps me to get the right tension. But you can do it in one smooth motion too. Just the way I like to do the chain cast on. Get some more yarn out of here. Okay. Whoop, caught this in it. There we go. And then I just plop it on the last peg. And then you notice there's a space here. You could also pop it on there, but I find it makes this really thick here. So what I've started doing is just ending right here when I do this cast on, and then just knit it off. And then we're just going to come over here and knit this to secure it. And then what I do, because there's only one piece of yarn coming here and it's thicker in here, is I take this loop that I had left and put it over here, and then I just knit it over, and that makes it blend in better. At least that's what I think. And also this is partially secured already, so it will stay tighter and not loosen up on you now, which sometimes happens. Okay, so what we're going to do with this stitch, and I've already done one knit stitch here, is we're just going to do a row of U-knit. So a row of U-knit right after the cast on. This completes the cast on part of it. And a U-knit is just over the peg like that and knit it off. If you're doing this pattern, I'd be pretty sure you already know how to U-knit, but just in case. And it gives you one of the, well, the real knit stitches, really, since E-wrap is a twisted knit, and it's the same as knitting through the back loop in needle knitting. But these all give you the V stitch, which is the knit stitch. And this yarn has lots of nice color changes. I really like it. Oh, it's 50% wool and 50% acrylic. So really nice to work with, unless you're one of those people that's allergic to wool. But if you're not, it's beautiful to work with. It just glides on. And we must almost be back there. Yeah, we're almost back there. I was going to pause it if it was still a long ways, and I will do that on some of these rows just because it's going to really take up a lot of length in the video. Okay, whoop, this is loose because it's this one right here. Okay, now what we're going to do is a row of purl. So just go down, pull a loop up and do that. I'll do it slower, but you should know how to purl. So we're just going to put this in just like the same way when we cast on. We came in through here. Now we're going to take this loop and pull it up just like we did with the cast on, except we're going to take everything off here and then just put the loop back on. You just put it right over like that. And that's all there is to a purl. So we're just going to purl all the way around. Just want to have a good strong non-curling base. And of course when we cast off we're going to do the same thing. do the same rows we did here so it matches. Okay, I'm going to put it on pause while I go around and do the purl. Okay, so I completed my row of purl. Okay, so now that you've done that, we're ready to do the stitches. So on the first peg, we do juniper stitch. So how you do that is you take the yarn, put it around the peg and around a second time, and then you take the 2 bottom stitches and put them over the top. Okay, so round the peg and the 2 bottom ones over. And you can do this as tight or as loose as you want because you're in control. This is the working yarn here. So, okay. So it's always the 2 bottom over the top. Just like that. Very easy. It goes pretty fast. If you're finding it hard to get it over, then you're doing it too tight. Should be easy. So you just would loosen up then if you find that you're having a hard time. Okay, so I'll just keep going and we'll meet up when I get to the end of the row. Okay, so I completed the row, and now row 2 is another row of juniper. It's a 3-row stitch. So we go on the first peg again, whoop, do juniper. And that one was a little bit tight, but that's okay, as long as you can get them over. Okay, so you already know how to do juniper stitch, so we're just going to go all the way to the end of the row and then we'll do the 3rd stitch. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I'll do the last juniper stitch, and now we're ready for row 3. Now row 3 is a stitch I call my double purl around, or sometimes just purl around. So you go under, scoop it up, and put on a new stitch, come back around and purl again, and that's all there is to it. Okay, so purl, go around and purl again. Okay, very easy. Purl, go around, purl again. Purl, go around, and I'm going to be out of yarn, so I have to attach some yarn. So I will be doing that, and we'll catch up at the end of the row. Okay, so I've done the purl around all the way to the end, and now it's back to row 1, which is juniper stitch. So there you go, and you just keep doing those 3 rows, and you go till you're long enough. And so I will take you to the cast off video, because I'm almost how long I want this to be. I'll just do the 2 rows of juniper and then I'll bind off, but I'll take you to my, because I started with the what's on and then the 2 rows of juniper, so I want to end with the 2 rows of juniper. And so I will take you to the bind off video, and we'll come back and look at the finished cowl. So we'll see you then. Okay, so I've done the 4 rows, and now what we're going to do is go ahead and we're going to do a very stretchy bind off so that we can get it looking like it does at the beginning of the piece. So I went around the loom with the yarn 2.5 times. You can go up to 3 if you'd like, and then I cut it. So that's how much yarn I have to do this with. You can always use extra yarn because you can always cut it off, but I found I never go over the 2.5 times around. Okay, and so then we just get a good needle, and I've got a nice short needle with a great big eye here. I like this needle. And then we get the yarn through it. You can also use a loom hook, but I find a needle a lot easier. Okay, so we're just going to make sure our stitch here is tight, and this is where we're starting. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going up the stitch that we just came from, and then we're going to tighten that, and then we're going to go behind it, and we're going to go down the next stitch and just pull the yarn through. Make sure you're on this side of the loop, or else you'll be pulling it through the loop, and you don't want that. Okay? Okay. And then what I'm going to do is go up this one once more. Because this is just my starting place. And then I'm going to go behind this one, and I'm going to go down the new peg. And this is the pattern all the way now. We're just going to go down the new peg, pull it through, and tighten it, and go up the old peg. It gets easier once the yarn gets shorter. Okay, and then we're going to go behind the peg that was the new peg. A little bit awkward here for me. Okay, so we went behind this peg, and we're going to go down the new peg. Pull it tight. And up the old peg. Okay, so we're going to go behind, and that's the peg that was new last time, and then we're going to go down the new peg, whoop, and up the old peg. And behind and down the new peg. Now, if you have a yarn that frays really easy, and this process frays it while you're doing this, then that's okay. You can cut that off, secure it with a knot, and weave it in later, and then you can just add a new yarn and go. You can tie it on to the end that you cut off if it's not too badly frayed, and then sew it all in later. But however you'd like to do that, that's a way to do it if you're fraying. This yarn doesn't fray, so I'm using a nice long yarn, but just a tip, because sometimes you'll get a yarn that will not like the process of binding off. I seem to be tangled here in my wire. Okay, we got it off now. Okay, so here we are. So if you have to stop in the process, you look at where you are and you see the yarns coming out of here. So that means that was the last one you worked. So you're going to go behind and go down the new peg. And up the old peg. Okay, and behind and down. And up. Okay, so I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit and then we can catch up. Okay, so I've got, I'm almost to the end here. And this is a lot shorter now. Okay, so here I am and I'm going behind the peg and I'm going down. See, now it's much easier down and up and behind. Tightening it down, up, and behind, down, up, behind. So it's not really hard to do, except this one, because I have a little bit of a knot there that developed. Okay, and then up, and behind, down, and up. And behind and down there you go and up and behind and down and up and behind and down. Like, there we go, because I'm at the end. So basically now I've connected every peg. They're all connected. So I'm just going to leave this here to actually do a knot, or I could do a knot right now because it's important to do a knot to secure it. I sometimes do it at the end, but I'm just going to do it now. So we're just going to do a whoop, there, a knot. There we go. And then I will be weaving in that end, turning it in so you don't see the knot, and weaving it in after. But now we can take the needle off and we can take our loom hook again, and then we can just start taking off the pegs. And we just take them off all the way around the loom. Some of them will be tighter, I find if I go the opposite way, it's looser and easier to take it off. So I'll go back the way that I had just come. Well, this looks like kind of funny big loops right now, but okay, so there we go. We just take the loom off now. And so then what we want to do is we want to stretch it. I go all the way around, stretching it. Okay, so here's the cowl all finished. So it's just as stretchy on the top as it is on the bottom. And there you go, a nice chunky cowl. Of course, you can make it non-chunky. So it looks good both ways. The stitches look really good both ways here, this way or that way. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, bye.